which is the fallen aspect of a Luciferian agenda. The light of the Luciferian light, yeah, is an enlightenment, which is a raising of a serpent force, which is a raising of a superior form of magnetism that resides within the being, which is an immense amount, immensely more powerful than the T's, which is the transverse. That's why you have transverse, yeah. So you're going to go transversing. Transversing is two-way. So you're going to go transgender is two-way, yeah. This is how, that's what T is, because the T is two for numerology. T is going to take you to two, and that's why it takes two to tango, two to tango, yeah. That's because of the T, yeah. So those two T forces have to be joined together to access a long force, a pulsed long wave force. That pulsed long wave force is far superior, and everything else is born from that. And so in that space, you cannot be manipulated in terms of, you cannot become sick like that. And so imagine these beings would want to deny that and go, oh, you've got to be so stupid. Of course, everybody's going to get sick and everyone's going to go. So what they're doing is compounding their own misery, yeah? And that can only happen for a cycle. That can only happen throughout the cyclical period. But what we have to also have to know is we also have to gain a strength, a superior strength here, which is what is happening, to recognise that your old paradigm will fall down around you, yeah. This is falling down, and it will be in the right moments. It will be in the right moments, yeah, when things will open up. And at those points, that is when exits will be made. On this, we are in a very small part of this plane, and we've been imprisoned inside of that very small part of the plane. Yeah, and so what will happen is that, and what I say is that live beings who are tethered with the luminaries in alignment with the meridians within their being will be made to exit. Will be made to exit, and will have to exit this particular part of this plane. There is no time scale, no timeline, and that's why I say that what you think is one day tomorrow is what I've been saying for ages now. Some people have asked me to do this video about the 20 was good. We're going to do it anyway, but and what I've been saying for a long while now. I did a 15-minute video about it about 4 or 5 months ago as well. And what we're saying is that what you think is a day, like tomorrow, could take 76 years to fully play out. Because obviously we're only just at even the age, and an age is, the precession, yeah, is 2160, which is 9. And the great year is 259 something, which goes back to 9 again. So it's telling you that spirit is the orchestrator of all things. And even I was just saying that this, wrap this up now, and I'll put this on as well. This will hopefully be on the screen. And here I have this to you. You know this anyway, right? And they deliberately won't listen to you because they are deliberately there to serve it, but because they've already adulterated matter to that extent, it gives you diminished self-worth when you are doing that, because it was already perfect, but you are adulterating it and adding substances to it, making it imperfect with your imperfect vision. Yeah, this is what's actually happening. You're purely so then what's happening is it is rebounding back at you as an effect, which is diminishing your self-worth, because the more that you give yourself to material and matter, the more, yeah, and as the physicality grows and grows and grows, it loses all touch with the essence. The further it grows, away in separation, the further it increases in imperfection. Yeah, this is the way that it works. So the paradoxical nature of events. So that's how it works, because what's actually happening is the sorcerer is deeming the human being, yeah, the human, as a virus and an animal, because they are in the animal state, the animal intellect. They are in the physical. They are only in alignment with just the physical body. They're not working with the divine body. They're not working with the astral body. These things which have to be activated. Yeah. So they are in alignment with limitation, restriction, scarcity. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a hard life, and they're a slave, basically. Yeah. And because they are not in control of their own perception of reality, they're not in control of their own reality, they're not mastering their own reality. So they are in another way, because of the paradox, they are manipulating their reality, but they're doing it in ignorance, which means it's like a child. Imagine a 1-year-old with a remote control, and he's going to turn over they're trying to turn over this TV screen, right? Imagine that anyway. Yeah. So this scrying screen, this box that they put the child in front of, yeah, it keeps turning over all the channels, etc., because it doesn't realise that it's in control of the remote control. That is what's happening. And that's why the soul just has to walk away. Yeah. That is the reason why. It has to walk away. And the reason it has to walk away, yeah, is because this game has to play out in a particular way. It has to play out the way that it is playing out right now. Right now. It has to. Yeah? So the dead have to be buried. That's how it has to work. Yeah? There's no other way around it. It's the way that it has to be. Yeah? And then obviously going forward, we will see two planes emerging, and that's why I'm here now giving you this. And the 31st, somebody asked me, a few people ask me, they always ask me what's going to happen next. Yeah, and then on the 31st, you'll see this alignment, which is going to be involving Pluto. Yeah, going to be involving Pluto, Yeah, going to be involving Pluto. It's all green. It's all go. It's all 13. It's all Virgi, which is in Portuguese, Virgi is green, and Verdade, Verdace is truth. And green is 13, and green is go. And go is 13, and in Portuguese, go is ir, which is 49. If you can comprehend what I've just explained to you, then you will be speaking, and you'll be in communication with the divine supreme mind that manifests this physical reality, and does this and does things in a way, in a synchronized way, in a total state of perfection. Right, now there's some noise happening on the left hand side all the way over here, right? And usually there's no noise at all ever. And you'll notice when I do these videos, you'll see that's taking place. And the reason that's taking place is because we are dealing with the height of truth here. And the height of truth has to be suppressed in order for this movie to continue, right? So what we're going to do this video over this background noise that you can hear coming from the left hand side of myself, right? So the projection making factor, right, is key significance, right? Now, what is that? So, and at the moment, it's I'm going to explain this, and it's a video that I've been meaning to do for a little while now, but I've been exceptionally busy because I've embarked upon the path of sovereignty, and because I've embarked upon the path of sovereignty, the force that commands that matrix, there is a price to pay. There is a price to pay. Yeah, and it's not just as a price to pay, that it wants to continually hold all beings in place. So when beings are able to break free of that energy extraction matrix, yeah, then what happens is there is this price to pay, and because of that, It's also one of the main factors why the unconscious doesn't want to come away. Doesn't want to come away, right? Even though we have an archetype within us known as a trickster, and the trickster likes to rebel against authority. Trickster's attached to our basic instincts. Now, what actually happens is because the mind is so vast, right? First thing we have is our thoughts. Have you ever wondered why people do the same thing over and over again, with it being wrong, and then towards the end of their lifetime here, they'll realise that what they was doing was wrong, and then what they will do is that they will recognise that, and then obviously embrace the fact that they were wrong. But by the time that they embrace the fact that they were wrong, they've already lived the whole life in the wrong mode. They lived the whole life as a lie, right? Because we think, oh, they ignored the truth, right? Or for some reason they just couldn't see it. But it wasn't just that. In between the thoughts and our perception of reality is a projection screen, and it is a projection making factor. And that projection making factor, is correct. Within it contains illusion. But what happens is, from our fallen state, as I speak about this tree of death, right? The unconscious, when we're unintegrated and when we have fallen, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, all of the things that are born through the unintegrated psyche, right? And all the things that are born through the trauma and all the things that we are taught from our personality, all the wrongs that we have been installed within our personality, that we take up when the ego comes to life, and the ego then joins up with the personality. Yeah, what happens is, because what we see, what we take in as a sponge, is negative behaviours that are just passed on like a virus, which is how the mind virus has attached itself. Yeah, are passed on through the personality, and all characters operate from the personality. Why do they do that? Because the personality contains a lot of falsehood within it. The personality is a mask for a character to wear. Yeah, it's all real deal, right? So although we have a movie, the external movie mirror, we also have internally, a movie screen, which is like a projection screen, which is playing, which is the projection making factor, right? So, for example, when a being, for example, we walk around on a day-to-day basis, right? Now, they perceive things from a particular angle, and they perceive it from the angle of life is hard, everything is struggle. If we don't go and do certain things, and we don't eat, all these sort of things, that we see externally, they are deliberately there to confirm what is going on inside of the psyche, right? So what is going on inside of the psyche is because of the fault that we take via alignment with the personality, and then the ego is just totally stranded. So then the ego is in animal mode as well, yeah, fighting for supremacy, fighting a battle for nothing, right? What ends up happening is that these archetypes, these fallen archetypes, they begin to speak to the conscious mind from the unconscious, right? And then what happens is projections are then born through that, and like I always speak about Belial. Yeah, Belial is one of the archetypes, fallen archetypes, and Belial is centered around lack of self-worth, diminished self-worth, and so on and so forth. Things that we've been speaking about for years now on this channel here, right? And you'll all the things that I speak about, you're just going to continue to see them keep growing and expanding, because it's the core of truth, right? So what happens then? Is that then the projection screen that is playing within our mind dictates what we perceive and our vision, and how we actually see the reality unfolding in front of us, right? So for the unconscious, that projection making factor, yeah, is not only projecting illusion to them, yeah, but theirs is also being controlled. it's also being controlled by the directors of the movie. So they are not only directing this external movie mirror, because the external movie mirror presents, reconfirms the inner projection screen. Right? It confirms that. So the lack of self-worth and doubt, the shame and the guilt, and in actual fact, what actually is seen, because we're in a paradox, right? The labyrinth. It is perceived that to the bit inside of the mind, because the being is operating from the tree of death, like it's a hellish vision. But then, if you ask any of these beings, they would tell you, no, they don't know what you're talking about. Everything is actually fine and perfect. Why is that? Because they have to run away from that darkness, because it's only by recognizing what I've just said, that is the only way in order for one to access light. There is no other way, right? But so then what happens is, because we have mind dictates all things. So if the projection screen is simply playing the Matrix character version of events constantly, then there's nothing else that can happen for that individual apart from the set scenario, the set things that are set to happen. Nothing else can take place. The only thing that can take place is exactly what the directors are tuning into within that projection screen. And the only other thing that can take place, the only other thing that can happen, is the other causes are stemming from the fallen archetypes who are originally creating the scenes that are being played within that projection making factor that is taking place within the psyche. Yeah, right. So for example, I'm sat here right now. Right now, where I am sat, there is nothing but vegetables and fruits grown, and this is where I live. Right, this is where I live. Right now, that's how it's going to be for me now. Right? Because what actually happens, I have risen my mind through the states with the queen of the sea. So the man, this is all engraved within nature, right? The man, the man has the archetypal vision of the grandmother in his mind, but that is only at its highest point of integration, which is at self-actualization, right? Through the work that gets done within oneself, right? Yeah. So, and that work is external, and it includes a lot of self-reflection and so on and so forth. It takes a long time to get by. But initially, the first stage of recognizing this grandmother archetype is through erotic fantasies and erotic expressions of woman, right? But nature of matter, it's an expression of that woman, right? But nature, she can only meet me and give me what I am perceiving with my projection making factor once I am in alignment with what she is. So by that is what is going to come about naturally. What that means is we have something called divine will. So then I can then action my divine will. I can action my divine will, which is like, I liken this to, if I, for example, I'm standing on the top of a building, and you fall off this, and you step off this building with total confidence, knowing that something is going to come below you, like a magic carpet, and catch you just as you fall. Yeah, that is how the divine will works. But it takes victorious nature, courage, victory, all of these other attributes that come with the risen archetype. Yeah. So we're working. What you can notice here is what we're working with two different polarities, and within these two polarities that I speak about, we have here the active and the passive. They allow for the workings of evil. It's allowed to take place. It is allowed to happen. Right. So this before I speak about this projection making factor, right? May have to do two parts of it as well. I have various abilities, right? you want to call them supernatural abilities, phenomena, etc. Right. One of them is like a form of kind of like a remote viewing, kind of, right? So what I mean by that is this. So, for example, I had a dream about the same, just before this thing came out. When they were on about this Balenciaga thing, right? Now it's all gonna link up, right? And that's something else as well I'm going to speak about, part of the projection making factor, the escapism. And that's why this video is centered deeply around us for our growth, right? So it was just before that, actually, and what happened in this dream, there was a young girl, right? And I was her, seeing through her eyes, right? And what was happening in this dream was that people were being called to a room that I was in, because I was in like a dark, cold room in a big, massive house, really big house, right? And also when I came here, I also have this thing about witches when I was small, when I was littler, and about the houses as well, the way the houses looked. And it was almost as though it's not me, my eyes, it was almost as though I was looking through the eyes of somebody else as a child, and had this, it was like a fear actually, as a child of the houses, black and white houses, like witch houses. And anyway, so these people were being brought to a room that I was in. Now I know what was going to happen if they ever get into that room. And I think, because it kept happening over and over again, it had already happened prior to them coming up the stairs. It had already taken place. I'm not going to mention, because it's just too graphic, but the full extent of what they will do to me as the little girl when I enter that room. What happens is, just as they come into that room, and I'm trying to maneuver all this time to get, just as they come into that room, I fly out of the window. Yeah, but the event has already taken place, but I fly out of that window. Yeah, and it happened over and over again. Now what that was, that is like a phase coherence, because I've activated the core of my magnetic field of what I am. When I sleep, my etheric body is now able to travel, right? So then that is like a calling of another soul being who's allowing me in the physical to now see what's taking place, or what has taken place somewhere else on this physical plane, to do with satanic ritual abuse. Could you imagine now that is a part of the projection making factor. It's the same way when people commit these acts of evil and they say they don't even know why they did it. Because of the projection making factor, and then the fallen archetypes that are in place in alignment with that being, because that being is working from the mass amount of defects that there are. So at the same time, right, so imagine if that was happening to most beings. Now, the movie, the scripts, all of the scripts, I generally know them. There's lots of different scripts. One of the scripts was that around this sort of time, might have been a bit before this, that it would be known that it would come out about this the abuse, the satanic ritual abuse with the children, and so on and so forth. And what they would do is that they would bring it about, and it would be accepted, the reason it would be accepted is through apathy, because the language above the word has a lot more power than it does when with the spoken word. It's the same as when I write posts. They don't contain the same amount of power in them as what happens with the spoken word, but it's still powerful. Right, but projection making factor, which we're going to go into, is so powerful. But what actually happened was, it was put out and it was accepted through apathy, and nobody did anything, or nothing was said. Right. So it's like, the projection making factor again, what actually happens when we're conscious, because I don't want to miss none of this out. I've got it written down here, right? So the projection factor still plays when we become consciously aware. We react and create effects such as wanting to escape from the physical reality. This is a dangerous operation, and hypnotism stems from the inner movie. Right, so we have this scenario where we think we're running like this, and the reason we think we're running is because we've now taken on some knowledge and information, right? But then what happens is, because of the level of consciousness and the level of psychology where we are at, we now perceive it using our projection making factor, which contains illusion within it. It contains illusion within it. So this is the reason why somebody can write something, but we don't all see it in the same way. We don't all see it in the same way. And in fact, we see it in many cases, but we are still stuck in illusion with what we can see. Because what's happened is we haven't integrated the psyche, yeah? We haven't integrated all the fragmented aspects of self first, prior. Yeah, so that means that when information and knowledge is then thrown upon us, we then perceive it however we want. This is what the term is, casting pearls at swine. And it's also the term dead wood. It's the idiom, dead wood. This individual is there and there's the dead wood. There's nothing you can do with them. There's nothing you can do with them because the projection making factor is just playing around in their mind, just like a lullaby, and it's lulling them. It's got them in a lull. So no matter what is presented in front of them, nothing will they will not be, you cannot present it in front of them and you can see it and you think, I'm just going to change this individual right now. They are not going to see it. They are not going to see it because that projection making factor, which is what we talk about when you say things like protesting and stuff like that. Because the projection making factor in that scenario has those individuals perceiving that they have done something that is now going to bring about some type of change, even though they know that it's not deep down, because the illusion and the scenes that are playing in their mind. So what the directors do is get in there and control that, and the reason is because if you don't control that projection making factor, then each individual being will start to co-create the reality that they want to manifest based upon the projection movie that's playing within their actual own mind. Yeah, that's how that will come about and be born. It will do. It'll just there's no changing it. There's no getting around it, and it's the way that the way that our psychology works, and it's attached to the polarities as well. So the active and passive polarity. So for example, if we go too far towards the right, towards the right with this, then what happens is when we start to not want to look at the left, on the left is the action. So action means like now, action. I've had to create I've created a whole new reality for myself and my family, right? And so by doing that I'm happy to employ action. You could call it active, which is masculine, right? It's an active principle. Fire, drive, it's got to go, right? So if I am unaware of active and passive, never mind just the old school. So you talk about just gender and masculine. It goes beyond that. We're dealing from the perspective of energy. Gender, yes, but in actual fact, really, the gender roles, they get flipped with the psychology of how our minds work, right? Deliberately to create a natural dance within nature. So that creates a synchronized, clear understanding between man and woman. Man in his higher aspect is in tune with his feminine aspect. Woman in her higher aspect is in tune with her masculine aspect. Yeah, right. So that's how that plays out. So then what happens is, if we are too towards the passive side, if we're driven towards passivity, then we will take in knowledge, information that isn't in alignment with action. Yeah, and that knowledge and information will have us going like this. Look, I'm not running anywhere. I'm still sat here, aren't I? I haven't gone anywhere, but I think I've gone somewhere. But really, I haven't gone anywhere. I'm still sat there, right in the same spot, because my projection making factor is making me perceive as though that now, because of this knowledge and information that I have, I'm moving somewhere. But in reality, what's actually happening is I'm not actually going anywhere. I'm still stuck, stagnated in the exact same position as where I was. I haven't moved anywhere. Right? And that in itself is showing you exactly how the projection making factor works, what the effects are of the projection making factor. Yeah. Those are born through that. So then what happens is, if we then start to ignore what's going on in the physical, we can create a dangerous scenario for ourselves. Because what we start to do is start to ignore things that, see, cognitive dissonance, it doesn't just stop. Everything is leveled and layered. So cognitive dissonance isn't just going to stop because we've become aware and now we know some stuff. The cognitive dissonance is still going to carry on in layers, because it will be based around other things. So you have a job and you have to go to work, right? And you're a slave, but you don't want to fully embrace and fully recognize that yet, because it means that you now have to employ action to do something about it. Yeah. When the projection making factor, because it's unintegrated, Belial is still speaking to you and telling you that you are not worthy and you have lack. And if you go out there, you are going to die out there. You're going to have no money out there. You're going to go to your parents and they're going to say to you, because they're characters, you're going to tap them on the back and they're going to put the mask on. And they're going to go say to you, you're going to go out there, you're going to have no money, you're going to have no job, you're going to have no this, you're going to have no that, and you're going to die. You're crazy. All that stupid stuff, what you think. That's what it is. Because you think that, because you think the earth is flat is the reason why you're prepared to take such a great risk when you have all this convenience right here in front of you. Yeah. And through them is that force. Yeah. It's the mind parasite, which is attached to the dark force that is deliberately a part of this place. Right. So nature, what does nature do? Nature creates this scenario where I've got it written here somewhere, so we don't. So I can say it exactly as it is. What it will do, we perceive this reality to be hard work, negative. It's divided. It's rock solid, and she does that deliberately to encourage us to come together. That's what that's why it's like that. Yeah, because by creating this push, this pull and push, what that's actually doing is it's actually bringing us. It's actually designed to bring us closer together. But nature doesn't look at it as though we are as weak as we are, because we're not supposed to be as damaged. We're not supposed to be as fallen as what we've fallen. But at the same time, in the same token, even though I say that, we're in a fallen plane, a fallen layer of density. Yeah. And this other force is here to usher us back towards the center of ourselves. Even because, as I stated, evil resides within the two polarities between the two poles here. Yeah, it resides within those, and within those two poles are both active and passive. So what happens is, projection making factor again. We have blue zones on Earth, right? Those blue zones. There's a blue zone in Okinawa, because you'll know I'm a martial artist. And the martial arts that I do was born in a place called Okinawa, right? And in Okinawa, they have this blue zone, like I say, right? And in that blue zone, what happens is the individuals, and it's called blue, deliberately. Still, you can go and put it up on the internet now, and you'll see it. It's a blue zone. I'm doing this video a bit different today. I'm not putting too many things up on the board, etc. Right? We're just going to go for an hour. I think we'll probably do a part 2 on this one. Now we're more settled here, we'll be doing a lot more videos again. Right. So in these blue zones, there's a level of unity in the blue zones, whereby they all help each other, yeah, to relieve stress in terms of finances. If somebody can't afford something, or if somebody's struggling with something, this is a part of what I was just saying about how the physical plane works. It presents itself to be so tough to encourage us to come together, yeah. But then that is then manipulated and played on by the sorcerers, Why are the sorcerers there? Because we allow them to be there. Why is the mind parasite there? Because we created it. Right. So in these blue zones, everybody helps everybody. If anybody needs anything, they'll come together. So if you haven't got anything, if you can't pay your bills and you can't pay your rent and all that sort of stuff or whatever it is, not only is obviously the diet and all the rest of it is going to be better, but it's the idea that they have this community, right, whereby everybody's helping everybody to eliminate stress and strife and angst. That then diminishes the parasite. The parasite, I was going to write it, but I thought I'd just wait until I was doing the video. The parasite resides within mostly densely populated areas. Because in densely populated areas, and people are unintegrated, so they're operating with the lower brain, in the reptilian brain, into survival, you've got lots of people all crammed together, and what they're doing is that they're all trying to trample on one another, just about the fear of not being able to survive. And then they're working with ignorance, selfishness and fear on top of that. So then the parasite is able to come in there, right? So what happens in the blue zones, they eliminate all of that. And then guess what happens then? Because they do that, they then get rewarded by the Great Mother. She then rewards them and they live till they're 100 and stuff like that. Here in Portugal, because of the projection making factor, we think the whole matrix. You'll see me looking down because I've got these notes here, and what'll happen is I'll do this video and then there'll be loads that I haven't put in. We'll have to do part 2. So yeah. So in Portugal, right? They and in parts of the world, little pockets of this matrix, in the matrix, we think it's all the same, and it's not. Not all the same. No. So there are beings. This is what I know about this projection making factor. Is this phenomena of a projection making factor? So beings that have been here a lot longer than me on this physical plane in this lifetime, they don't even know, or they don't realize that there are other parts of this plane, like here, where the people they're not doing the same. It's not the same thing. It's not the same matrix. They help one another. They don't judge other beings when they at first sight. They all actually love one another, and they are all happily intertwined. And that's why I said when I came here, I said they say bom dia. I used to do a lot of work on the DI, yeah. Dia is God, yeah. Dia, yeah, was a supernatural Fada de Dawn goddess, yeah, right. And Dia, which is DI, which I've explained, is a powerful frequency. So all these beings here are walking around saying, Bom dia, great rising. The sun is rising, yeah. Aurora, Lucifer, the sun is rising. And Aurora is a Portuguese word, the name of my daughter. I didn't deliberately know it was Portuguese at the time, but this is the synchronized nature of events. There are beings that were here that were the same complexion as myself, who were, they were Moorish, who used to be here, and they had of a grand stature, and they were risen at that stage, and they were here. So many of the Portuguese people that you see that are here, you can see that they actually descendant from those beings. So many of them, they'll have hair a little bit still like mine, slightly diluted, but it's not as far back as they said it is, because they are lying. Obviously it's a lie, deliberately, because the projection making factor in alignment is operating with illusion until you recover it yourself, and then the external movie mirror deliberately just lies about everything anyway, right? And that's why that happens. So what happens is, so then the beings, because of that projection making factor, they think everything is the same everywhere, when really it's not. It's not the same. Not the same at all. So here, the beings on average, I think they're living longer than they live longer. Where I am, where my sort of more off-grid house is out here. Yeah, there are 90 plus year olds. There is nobody walking around here hardly with a walking stick. Have I seen any? I've never hardly seen anybody. There might be the odd one, but there's not many. There's not many people that are deformed and disabled over here. But in the UK, they're everywhere. They're everywhere, right? And it's not just because of the sun, which is having a massive factor as well, but it's because of the way that they still perceive the reality. I'm going to take you round, and I mean, right, years ago we used to say that we're going to have to go back to the old way. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the old ways, right? Now, that's what's happened. We've gone back to the old ways. So when I take you round to the village where I live, where I am, you'll see that it's old. It is like, and where I live now, it's old. But because of the way my projection screen in my mind is operating, years ago, nature to me is beautiful, and it will be to a lot of you as well now, because you've been doing the work. It's just like, to me, for me to have been able to land in a spot like this, where now there's nothing but orange and lemon trees in here, it's massive, right? That to me is like when they win their lottery, because of the energy that I am feeling from that. Not just because of so the energy is determining the sight. So one of the ways to break out of that tree of death and to come out of the underworld, yeah, is through voltage. Now that voltage is in alignment with passivity, and it's like that because of the paradox. But what's important, the reason why I'm saying this now, is one of the things that I'm just going to find on here now, because because I see the reason that these videos have to be done, and if others can do them, great, is not for the same reason what 95% of the beings out there they're doing for. We do it because this is a part of the work that must be done for the releasing of the souls that are here that have been in bondage, yeah. So that we can start to access the higher. So we make sure that we access that higher plane of being that's actually here, because it doesn't have to operate like that. Tyranny can just keep going on for thousands of years, and evil can keep, which it will do, right? If we get trapped inside of it, here we go, I found it. If we get trapped inside of it, then that's what will happen. And then what happens is, you will be there with the information and knowledge that you've taken, but you will still be trapped inside of it, right? And then it will have gotten you, right? It will get you, right? So if you think that, oh yeah, and you took on this knowledge that was given a couple of years ago, the people that were given some knowledge a few years ago about certain things, some of them won't be thinking that same knowledge that they were given now, because they will have grown a bit more now. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm a bit older. I was doing this a long time ago. So a couple of years ago, I was talking about the things that are going to happen now. We're going to get kicked out of the Matrix. They're going to kick you out of the Matrix. Yeah, that's for sure. A dead cert is going to happen, and that's already taking place, which it will do, because they will use a technology that can be used for good, or it can be used for evil, because it resides within the polarities, because of the double-edged sword. But we are not using it. Because of the projection making factor, we don't know this, right? We don't realize this, but the internet that you use now is the Nazi, you know that, right? But we still don't recognize it really because of the projection making factor. The internet 2.0 that we use right now is a Nazi, what you call it, Nazi dictatorship device that is owned and commanded by demons. So therefore, they have been manipulating our mind for years with that. But at the same time, this is how they mix it up. There's truth in there. You can learn lots from it if you choose to. But the others don't. They just go on there and they go, oh, they go, oh, this thing that I learnt about earlier, I'm going to go into Google and ask Google what Google thinks about this thing that I was told earlier that is going to bring us freedom and sovereignty. Oh, Google says it's a scam. Therefore, it must be a scam. Right, yeah. Google saying it's a scam because the institutions and the financial institutions, etc., that are all in the same boat, they own that Google 2.0. And because they own that Google 2.0, they dictate what ever gets said on there. And we still don't grasp that yet. And what we don't realise is It's the internet 3.0 that is going to be giving us the opportunity to create that freedom of choice and that freedom to be able to perceive. Imagine, look, the freedom. So look, something feeds this projection making factor. Yeah. And it happens here. So like, I write this for this other one on here, but like beings will say, like they'll do things, right? And they go, oh no, it don't matter, it's not harming us, but that much more. I've got it written on here about when people, they watch porn or something, right? If I go and tell the guy that, he's gonna get angry with me, don't want to hear it. Or if we tell people what they're doing to their body, what they put into their body is no good for them, they will get angry with it. They don't want to hear that. They go, oh no, and then the project, what's backing that up? What is it that backs that up? You know that, yeah, right. You're drinking alcohol. You're smoking cigarettes. It's killing you. You're eating 3 meals a day. Eat what you like. Look, it's got it on the packet, look. It's got it on the packet, you're still doing it. Why is that? Because the projection making factor is the reason why. Imagine a movie screen, a projection screen that's playing. Yeah, and it's this projection screen it's playing, and it's playing in that individual's mind. And the only interaction, the only relationship, and the only things that can interact with that projection screen is the sorcerers and the fallen archetypes. So the being is just trapped in the middle, like this. Just in actual fact, they're just trapped in the middle, like this. In between that, you ain't gonna wake them up because they're a character. This is what I'm speaking about, right? And the reason I speak about this is because they're going to create algorithms to try and put you back to sleep if you haven't already began to write your own script. So it says here, the projection making factor can have the growing conscious mind think that it's not blind because it can see through one veil of illusion, but it's still entangled in the spider's web by being in bed with the devil. Right? The beast, mostly through finances. Partly through finances. Yeah, that's why finances, yeah, is with the 6. F, finances. Effing. Right? Right. So, if you're doing, this is how clever they are, man. Right? Because they know that action goes above the knowledge that you're gaining about the earth being flat, everything. I'm only mentioning that at the minute because I know I can sense it. I know that's you see, the thing with the psyop, things don't have to be true or false for it to have for a psychological operation to be operating that gives the initiator of that the desired effects that they are looking for. Yeah, this doesn't have to, right? Because there are certain truths that you can take in that would, like, I tell you, right, so you think the Earth's flat, people go, oh, but Earth's flat, so that means that everything, we wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for the Earth being flat, it wouldn't even be here, man. We wouldn't even be here. So that means that's everything. No. The Earth being flat doesn't take away the fact that if I poke and prod at you and I say certain things to you, that it will bring out the beast of burden within you. Yeah. That there are still things there are many things that are within you that the parasite feeds upon, and then you are unconsciously acting them out, right? Through fear, because it's what it works off. So if I say to you, right, give up your job tomorrow, come to Portugal. Right, tomorrow, your whole family, everything. Many will say, I can't do that, I got this, that, crazy like that. Yeah, but when you work upon the astral to the higher degrees, yeah, and you are in direct commune, yeah, with the grandfather or the grandmother, right? When you know that you are not of this world, when people say that you are of this world from it, I know that this is a simulation, and I know that I dropped inside of this to give out light and to attain my light and to give out light and to almost to not to protect. it's well, yeah, it's to watch out over other beings who I previously let down in past lives when I was a king. I can tell you that with great confidence, because it is how it is, and it is the truth. And that's why it doesn't matter to me how many likes I get. It doesn't matter to me how many people likes what I do, or how many followers that I get, and all of that. And it doesn't matter to me if I'm the best, because that is all weak to the integrated psyche, right? So I know this. And for some of the things that you see, the things that happen, the core truths, they're the hardest ones to get over, the hardest ones to recognize. The unintegrated woman fears and can't stand the integrated man. But it's probably the same vice versa, but I'm not a woman, I'm a man. And I know that. So what will happen is, when I put certain works out, yeah, the unintegrated woman who is in fear, her projection making factor wants to lash out at me, because the archetypes within her, the fallen archetypes within her, their role is to try to diminish me, yeah, is try to reduce me. Reduce. That is one of the reasons why mothers, if you watch closely, you would see, they would say, oh no, go and listen to the teacher. Go and you don't know what you're talking about. You need to go back to listen to the teacher. You don't know what he's talking about. I can't see you for who you are, yet you came out of their womb. Because they are unintegrated themselves, so they are working from the Jezebel energy, or which is the jealousy and envy and all of that sort of stuff, right? So a lot of that has to happen here because of where we are at, which is the physical plane, right? Which is what I said here. So if I present the negative energetic effects of watching porn, the forms of energy loss and its forms of energy loss, the one that watches the porn will refuse me as a cover-up for refusing to accept the bitter taste of the truth. So they would refuse me. They won't say anything about the thing. Right. They would refuse me and say that I'm chatting rubbish and blah 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 blah, X, Y, and Z. Right? Or I think that which is the standard form of projection. What they are doing, they would project that onto you. And it's massive, and that's why I'm saying it's massive. I see it all the time, even anytime when people that come to try and challenge, which is a sad thing to do in a way, unless it's truly justified. They just sat there projecting. Still, and I'm like, it's 2020, it's 2023. We were doing this in I used to have flat Earth arguments in this flat Earth versus globe, this versus that in 2015. How many years ago is that? They're still doing it. Why is that? Because of the projection making factor. This is how things work, right? And that is exactly what happens. So we covered that one. There's probably a few of us. Projection making factor can have the growing conscious mind thing. Yeah, we did that one. Right. So I think there's a big one here that I'm going to break down. So we'll go on to that one. Right. So yeah. So the inner movie's projection making factor. Right. Why don't the controllers mind you awakening to conspiracies? Think about it. In 2012, right, I had to hold on to this knowledge. I didn't know then what I know now, but I had to hold on to knowledge about Enki, Enlil, Anu, which is this guy, the actual the overall supreme, the most in that pantheon is the most high. The wording for that was Anunnaki at that stage, all of that sort of stuff, the gods, yeah. And then in 2011, 2012, there was this massive thing where they even put it on their movie mirror, and the news saying, look, the world might change today in 2012. Everyone was asleep, knocked out, right? Largely, a couple of people were doing videos, right? And they were doing videos, and about the same time as well, actually, right? And then, so in 2011, 2012, all of a sudden, you started seeing stuff coming on Facebook. I was like, oh my God, what is going on? What is going on? And do you know what happened? It made me just immediately, from then, do you know what I started posting? I started posting about automation, about how there were machines that were going to take people's jobs. And the people that knew me, the characters that knew me at the time, they got angry, tried to argue it. But there were and they, imagine this, because this will tell you about characters. They didn't know me like this. They worked with me, but they thought that they knew me, but they knew me as a character. So they would say to me, oh, you just found out about all this stuff and now you're banging out. And there were other people who knew me, like I had cousins and stuff. They already knew that already knew about all of this stuff. So then they were introduced to another side of me, and they come and they pointed out to these beings, and they goes, actually, no, he was already doing all of this. It's just that you didn't know about it, right? One of them beings, after all these years, came back to me not long ago, right? But anyway, so in that time, in 2012, yeah, this knowledge, like you have now on there, started to appear, and we thought that by giving this knowledge out, so we thought, now, right, we can finally start to give this out and speak about it. Before that, in 2006, 2005, I got kicked out of somebody's house because there was a girl who knew some stuff about this and that me and her started speaking about it at a gathering at night time, party and all the rest of it. And the people in there, they hated it. And the reason that they hated it is because the way that we call it perceiving, but the projection making factor is so powerful in their mind that if anything ever tries to come and break that interaction between the sorcerer and the archetypes and the projection screen, then you will see that demon come flying to the forefront. That's how it used to be. So even now, they would still rather perceive it as normal, even though they know, right? And I'll just say that even on the 13th of December, it was revealed about Needlecraft in the UK, yeah, in their governments and all that. It was revealed in there. The guy stood there, but nobody was in there, just him and another woman, and he told them about the black magic that they were performing there and then, but the dangers of it and what it was doing, right? So they just got rid of him, right, quickly, right? But that was on the 13th. So many things. You've had all these people that were dying. Go back and check and see how many of them either died. Like Robbie Coltrane, was he 72? Was a guy the other day, 54. Go back and you'll see how many of them. There was a American football player, 31. Go back and you'll see how many of them are those sort of ages. But if you have gone too far towards passivity with your knowledge, and you are not being drawn towards accelerating towards that middle path, then you may be under the projection to you may have you perceive that you are above looking at what goes on in the physical plane, in the physicality. And if you do that, you will miss the light, and you will miss some of the core truths that are being revealed to you to show you that where you are in this reality, yeah, show you that this reality, yeah, is a simulated reality, that you are a player within, and in actual fact, really, nothing can actually really touch you. That's why, look, I'm sat here right now. I haven't got loads of money for me to do this, but what I do have is divine will, and what I am working with is my true self, and I practice and work deeply with authenticity, yeah, authenticity within every conversation that I have, and with everything that I do. So guess what? That means that balance is in place. So although that I am living that in nature, in this off-grid lifestyle, etc., I still recognise that you need money, and I still recognise that it's not going to go anywhere. And there could be a scenario where if I operate within balance and start to deny the fact that we need this money, right, that's rightfully ours as I were born, right? It seems as if you came in as a creditor, which means that the money is yours anyway. Yeah, like all of this land, because I have dominion over matter, right? Yeah. Yeah, so then if that was the case, I come into here knowing that I'm able to command my own reality. And if I put myself into a position where it may seem as though, oh, there's a risk happening here, but coming out of the matrix and blah, 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 and might have enough this and that, I recognize and know that I will be lifted and raised up at that very last second. And everything will always be all right. Because I'm commanding this from elsewhere, from somewhere else. Yeah. So, and I'm taking over this vessel and vehicle. But you have to die many times for that to take place. That is something that happens, not in this world, in another world outside of this physical plane. Whilst you're stood in this physical plane, it happens to you. You do it outside of this world, right? That is exactly to a stone cold T how things work. So this is one of the things that I wanted to speak about. So with in terms of these this world, it is splitting into two, which is what I've always said, right? There are two worlds right now, but you don't know about them. I'm going to be doing it. I think I've done a video on Saturday somewhere else. I'm going to go into more detail, but we don't realize that what we're doing now, that is the Nazi dictatorship, right, and that is still going to be taking place and growing. But there is another world that is forming at the same time also. But your projection making factor will have you perceive that in reality that there is self-doubt, Jezebel, Belial, all the rest of them. They will have you think that there is nothing good that can come from the physical. Nothing. So just imagine how diminishing that is. You're a slave at work, right? But then you also perceive that there could be nothing else that could potentially be of any, and there's no concept, there's no projects or anything else that's coming from nothing. There's just nothing. So you might as well just keep being a slave. No, I'm here to teach you there is a way, and to show that there is a way for you to be out, to live in nature, and to be sovereign, and for you to be financially independent and free at the same time as doing so also. So I'll just quickly read this and then we wrap this one up. So it says, why don't the controllers mind you awakening to conspiracies equals your surroundings? They know there's a set structure that must be followed, and it must to becoming activated equals the supreme being coming forth to command the physical reality. If this doesn't take place, you'll end up adding external happenings and events to your own projection making factor, which leads you to an illusion where you think you are moving and progressing, when in reality you are actually cemented and not actually actioning or commanding and letting go of their moving mirror, which leaves you as a character in the part 2, which is now in the making, which is coming now, right? 2023, this one's going to be massive. And I said on videos before, I'm probably going to put it at the start of this video, 2025 will be a key significant one, because that is going to be the 9, right? This is a psychic truth advanced upon and revealed 3 years later, right, like after the Movie Mirror series, right? Look where you were then compared to now, with the knowing that something is attempting to lull you in a particular direction, which suits them. Gazing at the mental projection has us perceiving that we're moving somewhere when really we're stuck. You should be moving, you think you are, but you are not. But you cannot see because you are not aware of the workings of the projection making factor, right? Well, now I've explained that projection making factor, and hopefully I've explained it in some detail here. But what I'm going to do is go back into it again, probably, if I feel that there's not enough on it. But I've got other videos that are very, very key and important you need to catch up on. But this theme is going to be a continually running theme, because I operate a bit like a psychiatrist. What I do is I see the issue, and then I then look to diagnose it when I see it projecting itself within the collective consciousness of the conscious that we interact with online, right? So this is where we're at. So you think that you are moving somewhere and something is happening, when in reality we are stuck, not moving anywhere. But the projection making factor has us perceiving that actually we're doing something and we're moving somewhere and we're progressing towards sovereignty, yeah, but we are not doing that. We're not doing that, right? Yeah. So we need to look towards the psychological aspects of self. And you hear a lot about the inner work, but it's the psychological aspects of self. That self-reflection, right? And look towards, if you're a man, look towards how you perceive the woman, not subjectively, objectively within the mind. The attributes. What are the attributes of that risen woman? Yeah, it enables me to bring up my daughter better because I'm able to see that in her purest form. So we'll speak very soon. Peace, love, and centeredness.